Hey everyone, Kane here, and in this video we're gonna touch on Covenant once more. But this time it will be kind of a recon version, what kind of stats I will be going for whenever I'm turning to recon in probably like 10, 15, 20 days or so. The thing about Rakan is their frontline is rather quite weak in the mid-tier gameplay, and because of their frontline usually is why you're kind of losing the matches. So with a very sort of weak frontline, you have incredibly strong archers, which the red ones do a lot of damage. You see blue ones because I'm not playing the Rakans at the moment. And of course, you have a turtle, which takes a lot of space but provides a lot of tankiness on your field, provides a lot of buffs and all of those kinds of things. So we're gonna touch on from the turtle from the get-go. So we have to touch on the second, let's say, part of the ability of the turtle, which is added health recovery every second based on Dragon Turtle's own max HP. Now, I do believe this buff is active for like the first few seconds, or what I kind of noticed, because for the first 10-15 seconds, if you activate the turtle, the army units are not dying or not dropping like flies, and after those like 10-15 seconds they start dropping rather quite quickly. I'm not entirely sure the reason, but I do suspect that this regeneration buff is active for a very short amount of time, or at least the one affected by the active. And to increase that, we can only increase it by increasing the turtle's HP. Now, people may be thinking, but you can increase the turtle's healing done, and I would kind of agree, but they had a patch note a long time ago which removed the healing efficacy or the healing done to units from the turtle's recovery. Means you cannot really increase it in any other way except for increasing the HP of the turtle. And as well as if you have this active off, or rather you click this active, you also grant your humanoid units a shield based on the turtle's max HP. So there is a second bonus to that as well. So with the Covenant, I will kind of be wanting to go for the HP percent as the first substat, and perhaps even second if I'm lucky. And for the other stats is the thing is, the turtle doesn't have a lot of tankiness stats because I don't have a lot of research onto him. But like all army, he doesn't have a lot of enemy crit rate reduction. Which means if you don't increase this particular stat, archers, like any archers that have high amounts of crit hit damage, will just few arrow literally one shot your turtle. And if they do, you lose all of the buffs, all of the, let's say, healing, if there are regeneration of the field, and literally, like, if you don't even get your skill off, that's it. Like, you probably even lose the match because you do not activate the turtle. That is how important this particular unit is. So in all of these stats here, I would highly suggest to get the enemy crit rate reduction to remove those incredible amounts of critical hit damage explosions, the same let's say stats which I have on my frontline, which made a pretty huge difference. So that is what I will kind of be going for my turtle. Honestly, the healing done or healing efficacy would of course help out the turtle's basic attack, which is healing the troops in front of him. But depending where you place it, usually it's not really going to touch the blade masters, or not all the time, or not a lot of them. So it's really like situational whether you may want it or you may want just straight up tankiness so he would survive a little bit longer. Really depends and really situational. At least for me, the build that I'm kind of going for. Now we're gonna touch on the Blade Masters. Now again, going for the Dire or the Zen ones is like 50-50. Now do keep in mind the HP is a little bit lower because I don't have the gears built on the Rakan, I suppose race, efficacy, or whatever you wanna call it. So the HP would be a bit higher, the same as attack. Now, in terms of stats, it has almost 90% evade chance, which essentially I would think it's really kind of fake. Majority of the archers have like over 100 accuracy easily. Enemy crit rate reduction is 69%. He XD. But this probably is one of the tankier stats on your Rakan blades. Now, not a lot of people actually went for this stat. And the thing is, a lot of people went for healing received stat, which it probably can be better. It really depends. I don't have a lot of 5-star artifacts. I don't have a lot of like healing done places where like the heroes would be doing like 2 billion HP heals or like billions of HP heals or whatever. So for me, I'm kind of going for the healing received when I don't have these insane values or a high HP to make these insane values very useful. I have to go for, I suppose, maybe the second best or the first best. It really kind of depends and raise it quite high. Now, when I had this crit rate reduction at like 40, 50, it didn't make a pretty huge difference. But when I leveled this to over 60 and Skeleton Warriors have even 73, man, like the tankiness nearly doubled on my let's say skeleton warriors. They went from tanking 10 to 20 billion to tanking literally like 30 plus billion, and they have like 2.7 mil HP. And some people tank the same amounts with 5-star artifacts, with some healing received, and also with like almost double my HP and stuff like that. Maybe a little bit less than double. And that is the thing. That is what I kind of see the potential in this particular stat. And of course, going for those stats is rather quite easy in terms of Covenant. You can just select one stat and go for them, since you get like 300 boxes from some events, and you can literally just log them and save them until you're able to upgrade. So some of these gears, or rather one of them, I have even two of this. So, but I will have to kind of redo because the third stat is kind of really bad. But again, I have one of these on literally most of them. And then I have some healing received, which kind of helps out for Rakan a little bit. But do keep in mind that there is another thing in terms of these stats. So, the enemy crit rate reduction actually has soft and hard caps. So the further you go, the less value it will have. Sure, you're gonna upgrade higher and higher and higher. However, by increasing, I think 13-ish, 16-ish% that I don't have on Rakan blades, lost me only 4%, which means that like 12 to 16% kind of had a pretty huge drop in the amount of stats provided here, in terms of, I suppose, awakenings, equipment, and all that kind of stuff. So the further you go in this enemy crit rate reduction, the more percentages you will need for it to have a difference or this number to increase. Now, healing received does not have soft or hard caps, and even going further on, I do believe there is a bug with healing received that makes people literally multiply the healing received. By multiply, I mean if you get 20%, that 20% can become like friggin' 40% or somewhere around those numbers. Like some people were going into 500 to over 1,000 healing received. Like seriously, like literally, that was some incredibly bonkers numbers that I don't even know, man. But even then, some of those, like 1,000 healing received, would essentially make frontline immortal. But even then, the frontline was pretty much dropping, solely because I think the guy had like 30 or 40% in enemy crit rate reduction. And that is one of the failures of, I suppose, Covenant. You have to focus the stats which you're not able to get anywhere else. And in this particular feature, the reduce the chance of taking a critical hit is like one of the, I suppose, more important stats in here for the frontline, at least again in my opinion. The second best would be healing received, but it depends which race you're playing. Maybe both of them mix like 50-50. And in some other cases, you may even want some HP increases as well, or they wouldn't really be that bad, you know? For me, I kind of like the HP increase because it means some healing that I have on the field would actually provide more because they have more HP, all those kinds of things. So, Blade Masters aside, also do keep in mind that there is a difference between a Dire and Zen Blades. I do believe I was gonna mention is the Vorpal Blade. Sure, Zen Blades heal from the damage done, right? But Vorpal Blades have 30% bonus range on EI Jutsu. That means if they do the I Jutsu and jump forward into the enemy, like front line, into the enemy backline, they either reach the heroes or they jump further in that some AoE damage like Rakan, rather Valerie Fireball, Avril Blizzard, all of those kinds of things will be focusing one army unit in the Blade Master squad instead of a small AoE or a small clump. That is what can be a 50-50, like a hit or miss. Do keep in mind if they are CC'd, when they are in, let's say, the Ale effect, when they're jumping constantly, then of course it's not going to help you out. But if they're not that CC'd or that much, they can literally go into the enemy backline and start hitting the heroes, which is like 50-50. Again, depends on what formation you're running, but majority of the people prefer just a little more, I suppose, healing and consistency, which the Zen Blade Masters do. But Dire ones also have some sort of a use, but they're less consistent than the Zen ones, because even some CC would actually mess them over. And now, last but not least, is the Rakan Archers. So there is a thing with Rakan Archers where some stats are better than others. Now, the thing about crit rate is you can increase it through your research. One moment. Let's just show you. Tier 16 research, which would take quite a bit of time, increases accuracy and also increases attack and critical hit chance. And the stats from the research actually usually tend to be huge amount increases. And if you increase huge amount through research, you don't really need a lot of stats in any other features uh, of the stats that would be incredibly capped, which is crit rate. At, no, I don't think attack speed is capped. So crit rate is capped, and physical resistances are capped from majority of the researches and all that kind of stuff. So the stats that you would be wanting to go for in Covenant is the critical hit damage, but even that is a question mark. Now, do you see how much critical hit rate I have on archers, right? Now, going back to my front line, let's check how much enemy, or rather the enemy crit rate reduction I have. So my archers had 67% crit rate. Now, it depends how this is calculated or removed or whatever, whether it is like 67 minus 69, or it removes like close to 70% out of 67. So that would be like 18 or 19% left on the enemy archers. I'm not entirely sure on the calculations. It's incredibly hard to test these things. So it really depends how it kind of removes it or how well it is. So going just straight up for critical hit damage may not be the best thing to do for PvP. Could be for PvE, but not the best for PvP. So do keep that in mind. So the other thing that I would kind of suggest is there is another thing in terms of the Covenant which we do not have, which is the physical and the magical damage depending what kind of a race you're playing. So Rakan Archers do physical damage, so some of these stats I will be trying to get as a physical damage. Now again, I'm not entirely sure how much physical damage they already have, or where they would get it from, or if it has caps or no caps, or all of those kinds of things. This stat is not shown. Even we don't know how well it is calculated or how well it performs, but this stat is not really visible almost anywhere, which means upgrading it kind of usually has more value than upgrading the stats which are not existent. Now, do keep in mind that critical hit damage will be countered by enemy crit rate reduction. However, the physical damage dealt, I'm not entirely sure if it can get countered by almost anything, except for, of course, like the physical reductions and all of those kinds of things, which essentially majority of the damage would be kind of calculated down from. So this could be acting as penetration, could not be, could just be straight up increasing the damage. But again, since there is no like visible showcase of the stat itself, I would kind of suggest at least a few of these on your archers. Um, Basically, if you're just running full critical hit damage, you can easily get countered in terms of PvP. But if you would be running some of the, let's say, physical or magical, depending on your race, for a con archers, again, physical, just to make sure you understand, um, you will not get easily countered in PvP. Meaning, if the guy has a lot of enemy crit rate reductions, at least half of your stats on your Covenant would actually be pretty useful instead of you getting majorly countered. So, yeah, that is pretty much it. And I suppose that is kind of my glances, my thoughts a while after the feature has been released and stats given provided, and also like the thing about the reduced chance of taking a crit hit, which is probably one of the more insane stats in this feature. Like honestly, I didn't expect without so many 5-star artifacts that my frontline would be tanking this incredibly much. Man, it like incredible. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the video. Do let me know if you found this video useful, and if you did, do hit that subscribe button. It would help me out a lot. Thanks for watching, take care, and stay safe out there.